An entire planet of sand, a world in which no water exists naturally, where your literal blood, sweat, and tears are more valuable than gold. A world in which sandstorms rage constantly, specks of dust becoming tiny razors as they pick up speed, cutting through whatever stands in their path. A place where massive, hulking creatures, miles long, slither beneath the earth, moving the gritty sand as if it was, somewhat ironically, water in an ocean, where the most valuable resource on the planet is a spice mixed in with the sand that doubles as a powerful starship fuel accelerant and potent hallucinogen, and must be harvested under the constant threat of every other environmental factor mentioned here. Welcome to Arrakis, the desert planet. This world, nicknamed Dune by its inhabitants, is the main setting for Frank Herbert's science fiction epic of the same name. It is the stage for massive social, political, and economic issues that face three major factions as the noble House Atreides comes to own and attempts to tame the wild desert wastes. I'm Brandon Helm, and this is Stormside. Now, I know my aesthetic of rain doesn't really fit this episode's topic, but I'll leave it on as a constant reminder of the luxury of water, as I, at least, find it somewhat comforting. The rain falling on my roof and greeting me to a foggy winter morning, a blissful luxury that the people of Arrakis know nothing of, a luxury the main character of Dune, Paul Atreides, will come to respect and long for as he sits under the rain of his home planet Caladan, as he's scheduled to move to Arrakis the next day. The scenes of Paul alone in these first few chapters, and the subtle, extremely clever writing that accompanies them, came to be some of my favorites in the novel, his Bene Gesserit powers being hinted at and showcased in almost every scene he is in, without being outright explained to the reader, his encounter with the Reverend Mother threatening his life during testing, his sparring session with Gurney Halleck, his ominous conversations with Dr. Yue. Herbert gives so much depth and time to his characters that the events of the story impact the readers so much more as they become immersed and attached to the world they are reading about. As the plot progresses, Paul's house, House Atreides, arrives on Arrakis under the command of his father, Duke Leto Atreides, and begins to assert its authority over the people living there. Religious undertones are introduced as Paul is seen as a messiah by some of the natives. Class structures are commented on as water that could be used to maintain the lives of hundreds are used to simply keep a garden running for House Atreides, and the themes of adaptation and a willingness to survive begin to establish themselves in many different ways. The family reinforce their home and basic infrastructure, Paul evading an assassination attempt and Leto losing a spice harvester to a sandworm in the process, and finally begin to feel they are on somewhat stable ground in this unstable land, when corruption, another main theme in this novel, begins to rear its ugly head. Dr. Yue is revealed to be a traitor, and allows an enemy house, the Harkonnens, to enter the premises and kill Duke Leto. But of course, Yue is undone by his own greed, which, if we really want to dissect characters, he wasn't that bad of a villain, only acting out of the love that he had for his wife, but he is killed as well. Paul narrowly escapes into the desert with his mother, Lady Jessica, after using his Bene Gesserit powers to help his mother kill the two guards that were supposed to dispose of them. He grapples with his new reality of his father's death, becoming the new Duke, and being stranded in the desert of a planet where everything is trying to kill him. For the rest of the novel, instances highlighting the ruthless nature of the human instinct to survive are plentiful, and the forced adaptation that Paul must undergo is a testament by Herbert to the nature of human nature. Paul becomes a prophet to the Fremen, a people native to Arrakis, in following chapters, rising to power slowly, but eventually leading them along with members of House Atreides to take back Arrakis, and eventually the entire galactic empire. In conclusion, Dune is a science fiction masterpiece that speaks on many topics relating to the real world. Class structure, wealth, greed, corruption, oppression, fate, and adaptation are but of the few complex ideas Herbert manages to weave throughout his narrative. I rarely have books as immersive or engaging to read as Dune, but with that immersion, of course, comes complexity. By the first 100 pages, there were so many terms, places, and names that I had to learn that I was somewhat confused. But by the end of the novel, everything came together to form a coherent universe that you could get lost in forever. I highly recommend this book to anyone interested in it from the movie that came out recently, or that is interested in science fiction in general. That's all I have for now. So, stay safe out there, everyone, and as always, I'm Brandon Helm, and this was Stormside.